If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. Also, please be sure to press the notification button. That way, when a new video comes out, you'll be notified. For those who don't know, I am a big fan of giant monster movies. As a kid, I had some fascination with it, but it wasn't until I entered my teens and saw Cinemassacre's Godzilla-thon where my fascination with giant monsters came to play. And even to this day, I have my interest in them. With the recent release of the Rampage movie trailer, I've been doing a lot of thinking. See my previous video in order to get my thoughts on that. Despite Rampage most likely being a dumb action monster movie adaptation of a video game, I have been wondering, have giant monster and kaiju movies been making a comeback lately? Before I go into this theory, let's go through a quick history. It was the 1950s, milkshakes were becoming popular, rock and roll was becoming a thing, and racism was being challenged. However, another factor was coming into play, and that was the nuclear age. The Cold War was young and many believed that the United States and the Soviet Union would go into nuclear war, and many were fearful. One of the escapism from this reality was movies. Science fiction was all the craze, and concepts such as alien invasions or science fiction movies. But one of the most well-known concepts that come out of this was the giant monster movies. Movies such as them, 20 Million Miles to Earth, and The Beast from 20,000 Phantoms. These monsters would wreak havoc onto the cities, and it was up to our heroes to stop them. Yes, while some can state that King Kong was the first giant monster movie, most studios didn't replicate it until the 1950s, and putting a more science fiction spin on it. Japan, seeing this, decided to give it a try and in some eyes perfected it. Japan, being a nation that faced nuclear warfare, they used to pain and suffering and project it into their own monsters that terrorized them. Movies such as Godzilla, Rodan, and Varan all came out, thus the beginning of the age of kaiju. In the 50s and 60s, Godzilla movies were shown around the world with major success, bringing up competition from monsters such as Gamera and Ultraman from other studios, and even other countries trying to replicate its success, with Gorgo from the United Kingdom and Reptilicus from Denmark of all places. However, in the 1970s, it seemed that the kaiju phase was dying out. While the kaiju and giant monster movies would manage to remain big in Japan throughout the 1980s, 90s, and 2000s, with the Heisei Millennium Godzilla series and the Heisei Gamera trilogy. In the US, on the other hand, giant monster movies were very rare, with a few here and there, with the most famous, or infamous in this case, being the 1998 American remake of Godzilla. And we all know how that went. And once the releases for these movies were only limited to DVDs in niche markets, so as a kaiju fan in the late 2000s and early 2010s, you can imagine how hard it was to find these movies. That was until in 2013, a little film called Pacific Rim, directed by Guillermo, oh my god, I make awesome yet fucked up movies, Del Toro. Del Toro paid tribute to the genre by making an awesome movie with mechs and kaiju, and for a while, everyone just thought that was one of those once-in-a-lifetime movies that came out every now and then. Until one film that would change it all. That's right, in 2014, Godzilla would make his return, and even though I think the 2014 Godzilla film is, well, boring, I cannot ignore the impact it had. Why? Because in 2016, Toho Studios will make their own Godzilla film, which will be known as Shin Godzilla, or Godzilla Resurgence here in the West. While a different take, the King of the Monsters was making a comeback, and that's when we heard more news. More films were on the way. Kong Skull Island, Godzilla 2, King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. Kong, not to mention the announcements of Rampage and Pacific Rim 2, and Godzilla getting his own anime movie on Netflix. It seems like kaiju movies are making a return to the mainstream, and personally, that makes me happy. Also, most of these films are not being made by Japanese studios such as Toho, but by Americans such as Warner Bros. And Legendary Pictures. Why is that? Well, I have two theories. For starters, I think people want something new. In Hollywood, we're seeing the same thing over and over again. Heck, even franchises I love, I'm getting a little tired of seeing, so it's nice to add something new to the pitch. The second one is how these monsters are portrayed. In the early days, these monsters were warning of what nuclear weapons can do. As of now, these monsters are forces of nature. In today's world where the line between man and nature is starting to blur, these monsters seem like supernatural creatures defending their home from those who trespass upon it. you can definitely see it in films such as Kong Skull Island. Overall, I'm happy that kaiju movies are making a comeback, and I hope these movies introduce new audiences to a concept that I am truly a fan of and have caught my imagination.